Christopher was born and raised in Manchester in the north of England. There was a time when we had to live in poverty and homelessness. Therefore, since coming to Hanoi, witnessing many disadvantaged people, especially homeless people, he and some Vietnamese friends have had many practical activities to help them. Christopher X buys basic items such as clothing, blanket, pillows, food, milk, and medicine and goes to every corner of the street where homeless people spend the night to give them. The British guy also has a map showing about 35 places in the inner city of Hanoi where there are homeless people so that donors can easily find them. His action has been spread in the Vietnamese community and foreigners living in Vietnam. Christopher and the volunteers formed the Help Hanoi's homeless group with the participation of nearly 1,500 members. Christopher hopes to have more people know about the group's activities and help them in their difficult lives. Hello and welcome everyone to Sharing Vietnam on VTC10 Net Viet channel. In the bustle life of Hanoi, there are still many homeless and poor people. There is a man who is spending and devoting a lot of time organizing activities to help Hanoi's disadvantaged people. Today, in this program, we are going to have a talk with Mr. Christopher X to know more about his activities to help people in Hanoi. Thank you, Mr. Christopher, for joining our program today. So at first, please could you share about the process you come here to Vietnam and help the homeless and disadvantaged people?
So I came to Vietnam just under 2 years ago with the intention of staying just for a little while. But I've ended up loving the country and the city of Hanoi. So when I came here, you know, I was just enjoying it. I was just getting to appreciating Vietnamese culture and all of that sort of thing. It was only one night when I was walking home, encountered a woman tucked away somewhere who was sleeping rough with a baby in her arms. And I decided to help her out a little bit. By providing a pillow and a blanket and some food and things like that. And then from there, I just decided to, with a few friends, we just decided to develop Help Hanoi's Homeless. And that's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. I've been doing Help Hanoi's Homeless for about 1.5 years. Initially, it wasn't quite as it was now. In terms of regular events where we go out and help the homeless every single week, that's been going on for about 7 or 8 months now, but we also provide for them things like toiletries and clothes and medical supplies such as bandages and plasters. We also provide supplies for babies and children, such as baby formula and diapers and those kind of things.
So what are the motivations and encouragement to have you to organize such activities in Vietnam?
It's a bit of a difficult question to answer because obviously we all know that we're supposed to be, you know, helpful to our fellow human being, and we're supposed to help those who are down on their luck or people who are more disadvantaged than us. Obviously we know that. For me personally, in the sense that 5 years ago I was briefly and intermittently sleeping rough. And yeah, and I had no money, and it wasn't a fun time. Obviously, it was very, very cold. It was you're always dirty, you're always dusty, and it's very, very lonely. It's a very lonely experience. But I think the main thing is that people, it's not just that you need the help. It's that people need to change their opinions on the homeless or the disadvantaged or the poor. Altogether, because people see them as dangerous, or they see them as crazy, or they see them as having some sort of addiction or something like that. They're not dangerous. They're actually much more likely to be victims of crime than to perpetrate it. And you know, from my own experiences, you know, the way people talked to me and the way people acted around me and the way people would ignore me was it's humiliating, and just encourage people just to help as much as they can in any way that they can, and build up these bonds of community again, help to rebuild that, and help to get, you know, these people back into the mainstream of society, where everyone can benefit from that.
May I ask about the assistance and help that you get from Vietnamese people?
Well, I get enormous amounts of help from people who help out with my campaign. Firstly, the biggest barrier for me is language. My Vietnamese isn't, I wouldn't say it's perfect. I would say it's barely adequate, to be honest. But obviously having Vietnamese people come along and help to translate for me is enormously helpful. I don't know what I would do without that. In terms of things that our volunteers have done, so we have volunteers from all corners of the globe who've come to help out, and everyone gets together. So we have, you know, local people, and we have people who are sort of just passing through Vietnam, and expats and everything else really. And the things that they've donated are fantastic, like the donations that we receive, usually when we get a specific request for something. So for example, if somebody one of the people on the streets has a bit of an injury or something like that, and they need bandages, or maybe they just need some sort of cream or something like that, I can put out a request for those specific things, and they come flooding in. People start to, you know, our volunteers start to send me those specific things, which means we can, you know, rather than just putting out as much stuff as we can and just hoping some of it helps people, we can specifically give specific things to certain people.
Every Thursday evening, Help Hanoi's homeless group led by Christopher will gather. Members will bring charitable items such as clothing, medicine, milk for children, warm blankets, and essential necessities. Items will be divided into small bags. At 22 o'clock, the group will gather at Hanoi Station and start allocating. Needless to say, for the past 2 years, homeless people have become accustomed to the work of the group. They are usually present in 3 areas where the group visits, such as Hanoi Station, Thống Nhất Park, and Chợ Home. In addition to weekly activities, Christopher also performed a number of other small projects. He called for support from the charities. With the supplies and money he received, he bought things, helped children in the orphanages. His beautiful actions have not only attracted the participation of the Vietnamese, but also foreigners who came to live in Vietnam, many of whom were tourists who only stayed in Vietnam for a short time.
I'm here on the homeless run tonight. Just brought a few things with me, brought some nappies, brought some noodles, just simple things that will make people's lives easier. But this is the first time I've been tonight. I think it's just the basic will to help people. As when you have an advantage, you always want to help people with a disadvantage, and it's so simple to do. I want to do as much as I can for as many people as I can while I'm here. That's the thing that makes me feel the best, and I think it's the way that everyone should be.
Hiện tại thì đầu tiên bọn mình sẽ luôn thống nhất là sẽ không trao tiền hay là trao hiện vật quá là giá trị cho người ta. Thường thì sẽ chỉ giúp về mặt ví dụ như là thức ăn, đồ uống cũng như là vật dụng cá nhân thiết yếu và quần áo hàng ngày. Thường thì mọi người đã quen mặt với bọn mình rồi, cho nên là thường nếu như mà mọi người cần cái gì đó thiết yếu hơn, ví dụ như là thuốc, men hoặc là đồ của trẻ sơ sinh chẳng hạn, mọi người sẽ báo lại cho mình và mình sẽ báo lại cho XC, và sau đó thì bọn mình sẽ kêu gọi cái sự ủng hộ đấy ở trên hoặc là Facebook cá nhân hoặc là trên page của Help Hanoi Homeless.
To raise funds, Christopher has also partnered with several organizations, thereby establishing food boxes of noodles, sausages on street corners, where poor and homeless people often come over. As we all know, that apart from helping people project, you're also organizing some other projects such as the food boxes in the corner of the street to help other people. Could you please share about them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have these boxes. Basically, I've identified areas all across Hanoi where disadvantaged people tend to be sleeping or tend to be congregating. And what we'll try to do is we'll try to place a box, just a small box, costs 20,000 dong from a shop, and we just attach it somewhere nearby where it's easy to find, not just by the people who are using it, but also when people are passing by. So when people see it, they can drop food into it, or they can put toiletries in there, or they can put bandages and plasters and antiseptics in there. And then in that area, the homeless in that area can then take them back out and use them and take what they need. It's written in Vietnamese and it's written in English, so to make sure that we get as many people as possible putting things into these boxes and people taking stuff back out. When I initially set it up, it was just, to be honest, it was a bit of an experiment just to see if they would stay up, to see if the concept would catch on. And I wasn't optimistic. I did think for a moment that they would just get stolen within a day or two, but they didn't. I went round recently and all of the ones that I put up are still there, and they're full of different food to what I put in, which means people are filling them up. And since then, people from my campaign and people, even people who hadn't heard of my campaign, have started to put boxes up around the city.
In addition to project in Hanoi, Vietnam, we know that you also have another project in Prague. So could you please make a small comparison between doing the similar voluntary charity works in Vietnam compared to Prague?
You know, I run two campaigns in two different countries. They're markedly different countries with different temperatures and different societal constructs and that sort of things. In Prague, the winters can get very, very cold, and for some people that can be, if you're sleeping outside, that can be actually lethal for a lot of people. So, you know, it's very important to get things like blankets and coats out as quickly as possible. In Hanoi, just a simple difference is water. In Prague, you can drink the tap water. In Hanoi, you can't. So it's very important to get things like bottled water out and things like that. Make sure that people are getting those. The language barrier is a big one, because it's very difficult to communicate with people, which is why I rely enormously on help from locals and people who will translate for me, who are able to, you know, communicate what is needed and obviously speak to the people on my behalf, which is fantastic. Other issues or like problems or challenges that we've faced initially was just a lack of information. Because you don't know where people are staying. You don't understand what condition they're in, what they might need, how you can help them. In some cases, people people might not want to accept help, and that can be a challenge to overcome. The other challenge is people who. Unfortunately, you do draw a lot of criticism when you try to, actually surprisingly enough, I've never had more criticism in my life, badly handled, or it's making the problem worse.
So what do you think that Vietnam should do to improve the life of people, especially the life of homeless and disadvantaged people?
To everybody out there, the only way to end this is to, really, it's just for everybody to do a little bit. You know, not everyone has to dedicate their lives to helping the poor or helping the homeless, but just doing a little bit, just giving a little bit of what you have. One meal for one person for one night might not seem like much, but if you have 7 people doing that's one person who is fed every single day, you know, and if you aggregate that upwards and you have thousands and thousands of people helping out just a little bit, it can have an enormous impact on the lives of people who are disadvantaged.
Thank you, Mr. Christopher, for all of your sharing today. We hope that you and help Hanoi's homeless to have more activities to help people. That is the end of our program today. If you have any comment, please send email to us through sharingvietnam@netvietTV.net. Thank you and see you next time.